Hi, I'm Hazel, and this is a quick overview of the bosses in the Vault of the Wardens as they appear in the Legion Alpha. Vault of the Wardens is a 5-boss dungeon coming in Legion, and it's basically the supermax prison where Illidan's body and a bunch of other fun stuff has been stashed away. Tirathon Saltheril is a Blood Elf demon hunter and has to be the hardest first boss of all of the new dungeons. The second phase of this fight will have one of two sets of abilities, depending on which demon hunter spec Tirathon feels like being that week. We fought the Vengeance form on our run, with Havoc being the other option. Darkstrikes empowers Tirathon's attacks with Shadow Energy, which will give him an absorption shield if he hits a target with no active mitigation. Tanks need to time their cooldowns for this so that you don't shield him while also holding on to as much as you can for phase 2. Swoop will leap the boss to a random spot, knock back your party, and then he'll start casting Furious Blast. Furious Blast needs to be interrupted, but you can't do it if he has that absorption shield up from Darkstrikes. If he gets that Furious Blast cast off, he's going to deal massive damage to the whole party and leave behind a bunch of fire, so you really need to stop that. When he reaches 50% health, he'll shift into either Havoc or Vengeance form, which is random from week to week. In Vengeance form, he'll throw glaives and connect them with a Fel Chain. The whole group needs to keep moving to avoid that chain. He'll also cast Fel Mortar, which causes firebomb strikes at player locations, leaving fire at their feet. If you get the Havoc demon instead, he'll deal 25% flat extra damage, cast an I-beam called Hatred, and to top it all off gets a nasty immolation aura. For either form, you'll need to burn all remaining cooldowns, including Bloodlust if you have it, to try and end the fight quickly. Inquisitor Tormentorum hangs out near the cell block, and he likes to unleash prisoners on you for kicks. Sap Soul is an interruptible spell that's cast on a random player, and causes their next spell to have its cooldown increased by 15 seconds. Tanks and DPS should try to interrupt this, and if you end up with your soul sapped, just be mindful of what you cast next. Either use an ability with a long cooldown to begin with, or something you can afford to go without for 15 seconds. He'll run around freeing prisoners, and is immune to damage while doing so. Killing ads should become the priority. Tormenting orbs will spawn and cast Tormenting Gaze at players, which will daze you unless you turn to face your character at the orb for the end of the cast. As for the prisoners themselves, there's a bunch of them, they do all sorts of petty stuff and need to be killed. Move away from stuff that looks ouchy, deal with the ads, and you should be alright. Glazer is a big, ugly eyeball demon who's been cleverly contained in a room of mirrors. Lingering Gaze creates little fire zones around the room, which need to be avoided. Pulse releases a purple energy ball that will bounce around the room until it hits a player or the boss. If a player eats it, there'll be an 8-yard AoE damage blast. If you can get the boss to eat it, he'll take that damage instead. Your call. In phase 2, he'll focus and start channeling a beam that chases a random player. That guy runs the beam into the mirrors, and other players redirect the rest of the mirrors to aim the laser into the boss's butt. That'll stun him, he'll take a bunch of extra damage, and then go back to phase 1. The whole time he's focusing, the party will take strong AoE damage, so you want to phase him back as quickly as possible. Ashkelm was one of Ragnaros' lieutenants, who did some nasty stuff back in Cataclysm that landed him down here. He'll summon gradually overwhelming amounts of lava and stuff until the countermeasures are activated, so you'll need to time those carefully. Pyroclast will hurl a rock that summons a volcano when it lands, dealing damage to anyone standing there. Active volcanoes will summon the Ember ads around the room. Embers will sear players, which is pretty manageable unless they get buffed by some lava. Lava Wreath creates a ring of expanding lava which damages any player it touches. If lava touches the Ember ads, they get fired up and you just don't want to go there. Have players avoid the lava unless it's on path to hit an Ember ad, in which case someone needs to walk through the lava to soak it. Fissure makes even more lava in a straight line out from the boss. This whole time, everyone's taking constant damage from smoldering, so healers will have their hands full. When all of this gets too overwhelming, someone can activate the countermeasures by clicking on one of those owl things. The boss and ads will freeze and take 100% more damage. Smash every DPS cooldown available while the boss is frozen to try and end the fight as fast as you can. Cordana Felsong should be pretty memorable from all her time spent chilling with Khadgar and Wad. This fight centers around the Alloon's Light mechanic, which involves picking up and dropping a lantern to make a small space of light. Knockdown kick and turn kick will knock the tank down and promptly punt him backwards, so the tank needs to constantly position so he doesn't get kicked clean off the platform. Deepening Shadows spawns as a small pool of moss fire on the ground, which expands outwards. Covering them with Loon's Light will make them recede, so do your best to scooch the lamp around to stay on top of that. Detonating Moonglaive is hurled at a random location and explodes for nasty damage if it hits anybody. Shadow Step starts the second phase of the fight, where the boss will disappear. You need to find her using the lamp, while avoiding the constantly spawning Fel glaives. Avatars of Vengeance will spawn, and need to also be found with a lamp and killed. If all of that wasn't bad enough, Creeping Doom causes a line of invisible murder ghosts to cross the platform that can only be seen with, you guessed it, the lamp. You need to use Loon's Light to find the opening in the ghost line and patch through, or everything's pretty much over. This fight was ridiculously hard and can be pretty much derailed if one guy who doesn't know what to do grabs the lamp. Nobody can say that Cordana's going down without a fight. So that's Vault of the Wardens. Overall, this dungeon took us roughly 2 hours with most of the holdups on the first and last boss. It should be better on live, but I definitely predict this to be one of the hardest instances for pugs to try and clear. Thanks for watching, let me know what you think, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye!